Now, as ridiculous as that video might have seemed, the confusion that pushed the situations that I saw, remember being in the midst, and I'm only in the midst of your marriages, still brought me joy because my daughter and my son were with me. In honor of Mary, and she was late at night when all the world is sleeping. I stay up and think of you. Giving you the dreams part equaling, and there's nowhere in the world I'd rather be. That is what you want in your marriage. And that's going to take me, you, and your spouse. That type of love that puts you in that dangerous position, but that's the only way you will ever have true, real love. So the discipline and the correction minimizes, it doesn't eliminate, because you'll never have love unless you have that risk. Be willing to take it. It's worth it. Of them doing what they did before, falling into their own patterns. What people weren't realizing is in those moments, it gave you a chance to plead your case against the demon in your prodigal, straight to the prodigal's heart, to soften it even more because they have been away. And the play toy their mind became for the devil was their safety place. And then you actually witnessing and hearing what they have to say fills in the blanks that you have no real way except through my prophets to understand the concept of why they were away, the concept of why they're not in your life. But until you hear it from them, you don't get the closure. You don't get the, so that's why. And in this day and age, and I expect it from prodigals, Mary's done it many times, for them to speak something they don't actually really feel. When there's demons in them, they're not going to know how they feel. So what I recommend and what me and Mary usually do, we have a couple drinks first. One, because she's going to have demons. So your prodigal is going to have demons. Because it has to be that way until they confess. We're doing this the way I taught it. Now, if you notice, many were wondering, is it going to be during Purim as far as the second coming? Is it going to be the rapture? Is it going to be Gog versus Magog? And all of these things. And it was the wedding at Cana, the Galilean wedding. There was a teaching called Before the Wrath. Now, when you look here, And you see, like God, and then there's a name who is like God. Michael is what that means. So, being the expressly known and known to your kingdom spouses, it was going to, of course, require knowing my voice. When you had these fights, things were coming out of you, brought into the open. It's happened before. You've had your meltdowns. Believe me, I've heard people yelling, upset, especially at me a lot of times. In the safety of knowing you're not allowed to separate and run from each other. That is what cowards do. That is what the world does. My children don't do that. And you finding that in those moments, the love that exists between you is still there, and that's what's pulling it out. In a mature, standard marriage that I brought together, you would take the standpoint of, we're going to invite Michael Brian Thomas, the Lord Jesus, into our midst. Ask him to mend us as he is our Father that delights in us, and give us the strength to be obedient and restore the love we once had. And then from there, I'll be directing both of you. And that's what's always happened with me and Mary. We've prayed first, and then God's involved. Now, when you realize I'm in your spouse, and you're hearing from me through your spouse, because they're trained to speak only my words, you will hear things that they will not hear, and you will get answers, because it'll be my voice. And vice versa. The kingdom marriage is a wondrous gift. Now, if I were to tell anybody else, don't date, don't even meet with the opposite sex in a romantic sense unless it is your intention to be married. And then you would only do that if I told you, meet. And then you would know. So setting this precedent is going to restore trust in love and remove much of the fear from people who have had their heart broken. It doesn't have to be as copious and expected to the point where you shield your heart and simply use another person. So there's been much that has occurred bringing these relationships to, this is for the rest of your life. This is marriage. And this is because you were once one spirit. There will be nowhere else you want to be except with the male version of yourself or the female version of yourself. The love that You cannot hide and will never die. So your spouse, you will never stop loving. You remove that fear of someone falling out of love with you. But your fulfillment is you're having fellowship with me in the middle of it, everywhere you go. So your day changes. You're in agreement with Jesus. I love you.